Hi there, welcome back. How are you today? How are you feeling after the last few videos? So in this video, what was coming through really strongly is that choosing yourself, taking your energy back from focusing on others and blaming others, choosing yourself is the most beautiful act of self-love and love for those around you that you can possibly do. And in this one, we're going to explain how this works. So many people, I was the same. I used to think that self-love means that you become selfish and you become disconnected from everyone and you just focus on you. And now, you don't care about anything. It's all about you now. You sort of become this vain person. And it has nothing to do with that. So in this video, we wanted to walk you through what that looks like, how it changes everything. So when my daughter was born, for those of you who don't know, the first 4 years of her life, I found myself yelling at her whenever she spilt something or dropped something or just whatever it was, I would find myself yelling at her. And I had promised myself that when I had children, I would never smack them and I would never yell at them because I didn't learn anything from being yelled at. I wasn't deaf, So, and I wasn't hard of hearing, so I didn't need to be yelled at. But I found myself in that pattern because it was a learned behavior. It was already in me. I found myself yelling at her and she would have been the same. What did I do now? It's like, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to do that. Why are you yelling at me? And then one day I discovered through all of that, I saw her one day all curled up, and she looked, I'm trying to think what the word would be. Crushed was one word, but she looked ashamed, like she'd done something wrong. You know what I mean? And I hadn't approved of it. And I just really sat with myself that morning, and I was like, why am I yelling at her? It doesn't bother me to clean it up. Whatever it was, whatever mess she made at the age of 3, at the age of 2, whatever it was, it didn't bother me, to clean it up. So why did I feel the need to yell at her? And I started to really look at my pattern, and I realized in my pattern what was happening was that every time, financially we were always struggling. And every time I would have a bill that I couldn't pay, or we were behind with the mortgage, or any of those sorts of scenarios, I would get frustrated. And I didn't know how to channel that frustration, and so I would yell at her. That's how it would come out. Without knowing, she would just do something that just like spill food or whatever it was, and I would just go off at her, Until that day, I remember her being 4 years old and me thinking, why am I doing this? Now, there was that realization, oh, okay, it's the finances. So I went to see a financial advisor, worked it all out because I'd never really gone to seek help for it. I didn't know how to do it, but I didn't ask anyone for help either, on how to do finance stuff. It wasn't something I was familiar with. And growing up, money was something that parents, were always like, it's not a child's topic. Sex, money, death were the 3 topics at home that are not for children, right? It's a grown-up topic. So I didn't grow up with any information around money except what I was observing with my parents, that there was a lack and scarcity of it, that there was a great fear around it. The only things I did learn were money is the root of all evil, like all the things you would learn in church. And so that was my idea of money. That's what I grew up with. And I never questioned it. As soon as I became an adult, I got my credit cards, just like mum. She'd put everything on credit, max it out, and then pay it off. I just followed the pattern that I observed at home of what, how they managed money. So I got to a point in my adult years where I was just starting to get really frustrated because we were always behind. I couldn't seem to get on top of it, and that led me to that moment. Now, once I had my awakening, which came very soon after that, what happened? With the awakening, I began to observe me. I stopped looking at, oh, look what you did to me, and now I'm all messed up because of what you did to me. And you know, and I can't be loved and I don't fit in anywhere and it's all your fault. And, you know, for the longest time, I was just remembering I'd go to parties and I'd just feel so out of place, almost like I just couldn't explain it, but I just didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in a party where there was all these people drinking and having fun and loud music, and I just felt so out of place, so uncomfortable, and even more so uncomfortable trying to have conversations with these adults, you know, that were drunk, you know, they were in that state. They were having fun, but to me that wasn't fun, you know, because I couldn't drink. So I felt really out of place. So for a really, really long time, I couldn't talk to adults. I just couldn't relate to them. I couldn't see the point. And so for me, I always looked at it was her fault, my mum's fault, that I didn't fit in anywhere, that, you know, I was so unusual. Like I didn't know the truth of my background yet, you know. But then there was the awakening. After my daughter was 4, that was one first step, tiny little step of, oh, that's why I'm yelling. Because financially I'm struggling and I'm frustrated. I don't know how to do this. So I didn't want her growing up like that because I knew what that was like, you know. I knew how that felt. But I found myself doing it. I found that really curious. Why was I doing that, you know? So I got to the bottom of it in that moment, thinking that was it. But the deeper and the deeper you go into self-love, self-awareness, self-development, whatever it is you want to call it, the deeper you go into your rabbit hole of who you are, how you got here, you know, what makes you tick, all of that, you start to really observe yourself. I realized with time that I needed to have that experience. Because in those few years that I was yelling at her, I got to see the other side of it. One thing is to be the one receiving all the yelling. I knew what that was like. I had years of it. I knew how that made me feel, right? Like I just wanted to find a hole and crawl into it and disappear. That's how it made me feel every time. I just wanted to disappear. And it made me feel inadequate. It made me feel bad. It made me feel not good enough. Because if I was a good girl, she wouldn't be yelling at me. But half the time, I didn't know what I'd done wrong. I just knew she was yelling at me. And so every time, you know, there was something, I'd spill something or break something, or it would just escalate, you know. And there was just this fear around making mistakes because she would be upset. My mum would be upset, you know, with me. So that's another topic, the fear of mistakes because of, you know, childhood, what we go through. What we want to talk about is the yelling as an example. It's an example. It could be sexual abuse. It could be any kind of abuse that you went through in childhood. As an adult, we get to choose whether we want to be the ones now to do that. In my case, the yelling. We somehow feel that it's involuntary. I didn't mean to yell at her. And every time I would yell at her and I would come back later and I would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. You know, I've just lost it. You know, but I couldn't, for 4 years, I couldn't work out why I kept losing it until I really sat with myself, you know. So many times we go into adult years and we just repeat the pattern because we think, well, this is what life is. We don't know any different. We don't know any better, right? Now, it's not about better or worse. I'm going to explain here. Sorry, I shouldn't have used that word. We don't know any different. So what happens is you get 2 sides of the experience. The first one was you received the abuse, whatever abuse that was. The other side is you're the one doing the abuse now. And no side of it feels good, I can tell you from experience. But I got to see from yelling at my daughter what it felt like being the one doing it. And it doesn't feel good when you're the one yelling and over, you know, you're imposing yourself on this tiny little being that, you know, has no control over you because you're the grown-up. Jesus, what was that? But stay with me. There is a point to this whole story. So after I saw the financial advisor and we worked out a plan, and I started to feel empowered because now I'm taking responsibility for my finances. You know, I'm not like, oh, I'm at the hands of it and I have no power over it and money has all this power over me, right? All this lack and scarcity, that I never have enough of it. That was the, what do you call it? The underlying belief, I guess, that there isn't enough money. And that was creating my reality, right? Because that's what I grew up with. Lack and scarcity, that there isn't enough money in the world. On the other side of that, though, were all the beliefs of money's evil, money's the root of all evil, only bad people have money. So why would you want to have money if only bad people have money, right? There's nothing good about it. So there's all these beliefs that you keep repelling it because it's like, oh, no, it's not good. Good people don't have money, and all these beliefs that we have, which are beliefs, they're not the truth, right? But anyway, there's all this going on. And at the end of it, when I went through with the financial advisor and he explained how to budget and how to manage the money, everything shifted for me because I took responsibility for that. I took responsibility. I took it into my own hands and I thought, no, it's not going to have power over me anymore. I'm going to learn how to do this. I took it into my own hands that I didn't want to have that experience anymore. I was done with it, right? And now with that, I start looking at myself. I start looking at my patterns. I stopped yelling at my daughter. I didn't need to do that anymore because that was what was triggering the yelling, the feeling inadequate, the feeling powerless over this situation. So I didn't need to do that anymore. So that improved my daughter's life 100%. She doesn't need to be yelled at anymore. You see, when we start to focus on us, on improving ourselves, on self-love, how can I be happy? What can I do for myself to make myself happy? That ripples out. How can I be at peace? Imagine your children, your partner, all the people around you. When you're in this state of being angry all the time, of being resentful all the time, of blaming all the time, this is where your energy is going all the time. I know because that was me for a very long time. So what are you giving to the people around you when you're in that state? When you're in that energy? And that's where most of your thoughts are going. That's where most of your, any little thing and you're just triggered, you just go off your handle, like, Rah! Because you're pointing out there, you're not looking at yourself. When you choose to look at yourself, when you choose to take responsibility for your life, you improve not only your life, but the lives of those around you. Because you no longer need to be angry. You've worked out why I'm angry. I don't need to do that anymore. I don't need to be the victim anymore. I don't need to give you my power anymore. For a lot of people, it's really scary taking back your power. It's really scary taking responsibility. Because with responsibility, we have to accept our mistakes. And this is what we were talking about earlier. So many of us learn in our childhood that mistakes are bad and they're to be avoided at all costs. For me, making a mistake at home meant that I was going to get yelled at, I was going to get smacked, all of that. And it wasn't something that I looked forward to, ever. If anything, I did everything I could to avoid it. So I learned as a little one that mistakes were bad and they were to be avoided. But when you take responsibility for your life, you are responsible for your mistakes. And know in your heart that there is no such thing as mistakes. There's just no such thing. Everything in your life is there for a reason. It's meant to be there for your soul's expansion. We're just using that word mistake because as little ones, we're taught that mistakes are bad. Making a mistake, whatever the grown-ups around us say that mistakes are. Breaking things. Like say your mum has this, expensive vase with flowers and you accidentally knock it over and there's glass all over the floor. I would have got yelled at for that and I would have got smacked for that and sent to my room. That's a mistake. I didn't deliberately plan to break the vase. I accidentally knocked it. And the funny thing is that because you're so afraid to make a mistake, you tend to do more of them. You just tend to because you're like, you're trying to avoid that. And it makes you more clumsy because you're in that agitated state all the time of fear that, if I make a mistake, it's going to make her angry and she's going to come and get me. And so you tend to do it more because you're not relaxed, you're not at peace, you're not, It's constantly in this agitated state. But that's mistakes. When you take responsibility for your life, you take responsibility for all of it, every single bit. And you accept that it's all there for you. It's all serving you in your beautiful human experience, all of it. Maybe you don't need to understand it in this lifetime, and that's okay. You don't need to understand it. Your soul is already gaining everything it needs to gain from it. Whether you get it or not, it doesn't matter. But my beautiful beings, when you choose you and you begin to focus on you and you begin to look at your patterns, why am I doing that? Why am I yelling at my kids? Why am I smacking my kids? Yes, it was a learned behavior. It was repeated many. Did I say many? Many times in my childhood. It's a learned behavior, but it doesn't mean that we need to repeat that pattern. And if you are repeating that pattern, why? What is the need? Why do you need to do that? There is a need for it. For me, it was releasing that frustration. My financial struggles. And I'm sure for my mum it was the same. She didn't know how to manage money. My dad was a bricklayer and he made good money. My mum didn't know how to manage it, and so we never had any. But I think, now that I really think about it, it's more to do with not wanting to have it because it's bad, it's evil, only bad people have it. Because they had all those beliefs around money, is that they wouldn't allow themselves to have it. If that makes sense. Like they'd only allow themselves to have the minimum amount that they needed. Otherwise they'd just keep spending. Getting rid of it, So, my beautiful beings, money is energy. Money is spirit. Whenever you find yourself having negative thoughts about the word money, remind yourself that everything is spirit. And if everything is spirit, then money is spirit. There's no two ways about it. And it's not good or bad. You're in a relationship with money. Now, what is your relationship? What is money trying to tell you about yourself? What beliefs do you have around it that is causing you to push it away or repel it or not let it in? So, my beautiful beings, we love you dearly. When you choose you and you start placing your energy on you and how you can be the best version of you, it helps everyone around you. Because now they have a calmer version of you. A version that's more at peace. It understands. A version of you that's more joyful. Because you know that you are in charge of your joy. Only you can give it to yourself. And you are the love. You are it. It's that simple. And when you remember, you no longer have to have these relationships of, you need to give me the love because I don't know that I'm the love. I'm waiting for you to give it to me. You no longer need to get it from out there. You stand strong in the love that you are. And the beings around you begin to feel that. They feel it. Sometimes we can assist those around us to remember that this is who they are too. They are this love, this unconditional love. This is who they are. It's all that's ever happening. Unconditional love. So, my beautiful beings, when you improve yourself, when you focus on yourself and try to understand yourself at every level, you improve the lives of everyone around you, because you no longer need to be doing those patterns. You begin to understand why those patterns are there. It's what this whole channel is about. Helping you gain clarity about who you are. All right, my beautiful beings. We love you guys. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. We love you dearly. Bye for now.